And thank you for joining us this afternoon to have an overview of employee benefits and what that means here in New Zealand. To give you some introductions, I am Christina from JLT Insurance Brokers. Jardine Lloyd Thompson is our full name. I'm one of the people risk consultants who specialises in employee benefits. So today, I guess we'll go through an agenda shortly, but I guess who is JLT? We are a long-term insurance partner to the Property Institute of New Zealand. We have been a partner of PINZ for a very long time, and it's a relationship that we are very proud of. We are very pleased to be part of the property and valuation sector here in New Zealand. It's an industry that has seen a lot of change recently. With the catastrophic events, you have earthquakes, you have new building regulations. So it's quite exciting for us to be a part of that and to join in yourself with it. Currently, JLT is the corporate insurance provider. So we partner and put together insurance solutions for PINZ members, mainly around their corporate insurances such as liability insurance, buildings, material damage, directors and officers, and the like. But what we're really quite excited about is the ability to be able to develop this relationship further and bring forth some offerings to both employee benefits on an individual basis, but also on a group scheme basis as well to PINZ members. JLT is one of the world's leading providers of insurance, reinsurance, and employee benefits related advice and associated services. We are an independent brokerage firm, meaning we have access to the whole of the market, and we don't have any specific loyalties to any specific or certain insurers. JLT is slightly unique in that we actually specialise in certain industry sectors. We're not everything to everybody, and part of that is the attraction in that we can offer expertise and experience and knowledge to those sectors and offer our clients some really good coverage and policies, market leading policies, and obviously premium savings as well. To give you an agenda for today, I wanted to talk through around what are employee benefits, give you a couple of questions to start you thinking about areas to consider with your employee engagement. Also talk about what are employee benefits in New Zealand and how does that look in this industry at the moment. There's so much splashed across the media and it's very much topical. So it's just understanding what that looks like in New Zealand. Also talk through the group benefits that are available and what can be on offer, along with sharing with you a bit about BEMPOW, which is our unique employee benefits online management tool that we can use for both employers and employee engagement and helping you communicate your benefits to your staff better. Finally, we want to talk through wellness because it's not just about traditional insurances, it's actually about also looking at being a bit more proactive in terms of your wellness, your engagement with your employees on a regular basis to avoid being the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff scenario. Finally, we're going to talk through the PINZ launch we're launching a new PINZ initiative. It's a life insurance policy. It's quite exciting. It's a new initiative for individuals, so it might be giving you something food for thought to finish up on. So what are employee benefits? Employee benefits are benefits that are offered in kind to employees that are in addition and over and above the normal wages and salaries that staff and employees will receive. These benefits in kind can be your traditional insurances, life insurance, income protection, maybe a bit of trauma or medical insurance, but also there's new ones such as flu vaccinations. A lot of you already do this, possibly in your workplaces at the moment. You have flu vaccinations, discounted gym memberships, company cars, bonus schemes, and KiwiSaver and the like. There's now a real vast range of benefits that employers can provide to staff to enhance the overall package. And these extra benefits are your employee benefits. I guess something to think about is not so long ago, employees were quite content with receiving a salary increase every year, and it seemed that sometimes only senior executives and or your C-suite members might have been entitled to extra benefits, bonuses, company cars, or a little bit of life insurance. In whole, even though it wasn't really discussed, it was just kind of assumed, and this is the way New Zealand has been, that employees would very much take personal responsibility for their own protection in the event of an unexpected death, illness, or injury. Obviously, times are changing. We're becoming a lot more of a technological savvy environment, and employers realise the value of wellness and healthy engagement in the workplace and what that can offer. So these are becoming more and more popular. A couple of questions to sort of get you thinking today would be, have you ever had to face the problem of how to help a key employee or their family if that person became disabled or suddenly dies? It's quite a strong statement to have to think about, and some of you may have already had this affect your company in this specific scenario or in a slightly different way. I guess what we need to think about is, how have we as companies set a precedence around how you handle these situations? If you have one employee that you do this for, is it likely that this will be the same situation if you had multiple ones further down the track? You may have assisted with long-term sick leave entitlements, longer than the normal standard that you're required as an employer to provide. Or you may have provided more time or part-time for an employee to recover. What's actually really important is that we have a workplace plan in place that is actually focused on your employees, because as we know, they're your greatest asset. So by providing, in this instance, life insurance for your employees, you're actually giving valued security to your employees, but you're also ensuring that your financial obligations are minimal. You're actually seen as a caring provider and employer who is actually looking after the wellness and safety of their staff. Another thought is that, have you ever considered the impact on an employee of a sudden or major illness or accident? And what does that impact have on the employee's family? Unfortunately, in today's society, and it may just be more prevalent because we talk about it more, but strokes and heart attacks, cancer are increasingly regular occurrences, and they happen at any time without warning. Most people believe that accidents are the major cause of disability. However, more people are disabled by sickness than by accident, particularly over the age of 35. A sickness benefit provides a very modest income here in New Zealand, and which goes nowhere near reaching even the average wage. So to be solely reliant on a sickness benefit that you may or may not meet the criteria for can actually have a significant impact on your staff. ACC benefits in terms of injuries can also mean a severe drop in income, especially for your high earners. So the impact that has on a family and the way that they financially set themselves up in the instance of having to suffer from a major illness or accident can actually take time away from recovery and take time away from recuperation. So it is really important to sort of think about, as a company, how can we structure our processes in order to give our employees the best level of care, whilst also managing, obviously, bottom line expectations. People are our most important asset. As I might have mentioned in the flyer before promoting this webinar, they're an asset to attract, an asset to retain, and an asset to protect. Great employers who understand the need to offer these additional benefits want to look after their people, and so delivering health and well-being is usually top of their list. It has been proven that employees who are fit both mentally and physically definitely have more energy, they're more effective and efficient in their workplaces, and they enjoy their work. It can have a positive impact on your workplace productivity. It also improves all of your retention rates. So actually having a healthy, living workforce creates a culture that benefits everybody. Even with the best laid health and wellbeing programs, illness and injury will still strike. So it's essential to structure the policies in a way that provides the right cover for you at the right time with the right benefit and the right payment being made. There's no point doing everything and providing a bells and whistles policy if it's not going to cater when you need it, or offering certain benefits where your employees won't actually get to reap those rewards when they do. By thinking about and engaging in a people program, your employees are looked after when it's needed most, and more importantly, the financial stress is removed from already what is a stressful situation. I'm sure we all know in our own personal circumstances, someone who has gone through one of these illnesses or injuries that has rendered them inactive or immobile for a period of time while they seek recovery. And we know what that can do to a family, and we know what that can do to them if they have to worry about all the extra stresses and pressures. Another thing to consider with employee engagement is absenteeism. It can be kept to a minimum. Unfortunately, in New Zealand, absenteeism, even though it's just decreased as a result of some certain areas, it's actually increased as a result of stress. So it's still a workplace issue that needs to be addressed. And by removing any financial or other obligations, companies can actually move forward and look after their employees a lot easier. It's also important that we look at the benefits not in isolation but as an integrated program. It's really important to look at traditional benefits such as your insurances, but also look at the proactive, ongoing management that we can offer staff to allow them to have that daily protection and those daily health and wellbeing awarenesses that can avoid us going straight to traditional policies. So employee benefits here in New Zealand, it has definitely increased in awareness over the last 5+ years. Here in New Zealand, we have that mentality of she'll be right, and it's slowly starting to diminish as people are now becoming more aware of the fact that our public health system is being very stretched, and ACC and other government options for sickness and injury benefits are not the backstop that most people thought that they were. For a long time, we've always thought that we'd be looked after. And whilst we have a fantastic health system here that is free for residents, things are taking longer and longer, and operations are taking longer and longer, and we're seeing the impacts of that on people who are sitting on waiting lists. Employee benefits have been offered in the UK and the US and other markets globally for quite some time. And New Zealand's been a little bit slow off the mark, but we're finally catching up. As more and more global operators are moving into New Zealand and setting up their businesses, they are wanting to offer comparable benefits to their staff, comparable to the benefits that they offer in other locations. As a result, what would normally have just been an offer of a salary is not going to set you apart from your competition anymore. It's about looking at what other benefits packages we can offer over and above salary. People are hungry to employ top people in their fields and specializations, and so retention and attraction falls very much into this. And people are becoming more aware of the fact that they can actually get a lot more for their package than just a salary. Lifestyle changes. Well, we all know that our working environments have become a lot more flexible nowadays. People are on phone and on email, contactable 24/7, and with that comes another whole set of additional stresses and pressures that we probably didn't think about. People are choosing to work different hours. They're working not the traditional 9 to 5, but they're looking to, go to the gym at lunchtime, or go to the gym early, or start work early and finish late, or do different ways of thinking. And because of this, As employers, we have a really good opportunity to be creative with the way we offer our benefits and the way we structure our working environments. Additionally, there's a greater focus on health and well-being. It's taken a huge step forward, and we have the media, magazines, and the internet to all thank for this. Some of it's good, and some of it's not so great, but it's a good thing to focus on being fit and healthier, and helping people to engage in and taking pride in their own health and well-being. So we're finding that a lot more employees are starting to expect and opt for packages that provide some form of level of health and well-being options over and above their salaries. I guess as the diagram sort of mentions, there's a lot of balls in the air and a lot of plates to spin, but actually it's about getting the right balance for your employees. Traditional insurance solutions are important to any risk management program you implement, but it's actually getting the right balance between preventative and traditional benefits. Introducing new wellness initiatives will serve to encourage your employees to actually be more aware of their overall health and wellness. They'll be more willing to engage with specialists and health professionals. They won't be quite so scared to go for some of the tests and undergo some examinations and other things. And as a result, they'll be more active. It will reduce your absenteeism, and it will help to save businesses financially with long-term absence. By adding in these preventative measures, you're also, on a regular basis, you're also helping to avoid that scenario I mentioned earlier, where the insurance becomes the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff. Some type of preventative measures that we're seeing that are being implemented quite cost effectively here in New Zealand are things like annual flu vaccinations, healthy heart checks, smoking cessation courses, wellness calendars where you might have a focus every couple of months on something new. We also at JLT have just recently launched a Gowell health portal, which is something that gives your employees 24/7 access to a range of recipes, articles, expert advice on a whole different thing, a range of different areas, depending on what's important to you. Health screenings are a really important one as well. I think by putting these prevention measures in place and giving your employees the opportunity to be more aware of their health and wellness on a regular basis means that we're avoiding those serious illnesses that can lay dormant or quiet for a while, rearing their ugly head without warning. If you're more aware of your health, then you're more aware of when things don't feel right or when something's not working quite as it should. You're more likely to go and seek some help and some guidance. Some of the group benefits that are available in New Zealand are listed on the slide there, as you can see. You have life insurance, total and permanent disablement, income protection, trauma, health or medical insurance, which most of you will be familiar with, employee assistance programs or EAPs, probably one that's not given much love or light. It sort of sits quietly in the background. And more recently, we're starting to see a number of medical insurers and the like creating health portals, which are an easy and efficient way to get out to all employees, regardless of where they are location-wise or where they are working-wise, whether they're home-based or in an office. For group benefits here in New Zealand, we do have a minimum of 10 lives to set up a group scheme. Anything under 10 lives can be done, but it's more done on an individual basis. JLT, we can do either or. But what's really good is the policies are set up as a group, with the owner being either the corporate or your company or a franchise if a couple of you want to get together under the common brand name and put together a group. So in the event that a policy was to be triggered, the payment or benefit would be paid to the policy owner and then on to obviously the recipient being the member. You get discounted rates The rates are always usually cheaper than you will find on the high street if you were to purchase the product in isolation. You also get cover up to what we call automatic acceptance limits, which are a lot higher limits, which allow you cover without the need to go and declare full medical underwriting. Now, as we get older, we tend to get a few more ailments, we tend to have a few more niggles, a few more operations, a few more things that we've seen a doctor about. With automatic acceptance levels and minimal underwriting, a lot of that can be swept away without you declaring it. So you can actually get the cover without any loadings or restrictions or exclusions applied that you would if you had an individual policy. The next few slides go through each of the insurances one by one. Group life is obviously a death by any cause, illness or injury, 24/7 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's a lump sum payment that's made out to the member's family. It's also a policy where if you have a member who was diagnosed with something terminal and given less than 12 months to live, that it will actually pay out the benefit in advance. What's really great about this is it allows the person to get their affairs in order and actually spend quality time with their loved ones and try and do their best to fight whatever they're fighting. It also gives peace of mind to the family, and it gives assistance when they're in a time of grieving. You know, funerals can be costly and upwards of $20,000 in New Zealand from now, and it just takes out that pressure at a time of need. The other thing is here in New Zealand, we have a high percentage of people who want to own their own home. We're a country, unlike Europe, who want to have a mortgage, have a quarter-acre section, although that's becoming a bit of a distant memory here. And it will also provide peace of mind to those with young families or with mortgages that they need to pay. It's a great extra benefit where they can offer the bank a piece of paper which shows them what they've got in life insurance, and it just is an extra backstop and protection for those they may leave behind. With group life, you can also set it up on a company level. So it's called key person, and so the insurance can also be structured that if you have key individuals in your business and something was to happen to them, they're not necessarily someone that you can quickly go out and replace within a week or two. It usually takes a while to find a new CEO or a new CFO, and it can actually have financial implications on keeping the business running. Or they may be someone who's your top sales guy or girl and the one that's generating all your new business. And if they weren't a key part or integral part of your team and they weren't there, then obviously you can have this life insurance policy to pay out, which would help with your recruitment costs and trying to find someone who would fit that gap. Total and permanent disablement is also a lump sum benefit, but it also covers a situation where an individual has an illness or an injury that results in them never being able to work again, which is quite serious and ideally not a very pleasant way to be. And most times it means that the employee's partner has actually remained at home to care for that individual, or they need to pay for extra care. So usually there's a considerable expense around this scenario when it happens. This is a lump sum payment. It's usually offset with group life. So if someone suffers a disablement that means they're unable to work ever again, it can be paid out early in lieu of your life benefit. It works in the same way. However, because the person is still surviving, having that lump sum payment allows them to adapt their lifestyle to fit the new circumstances. Income protection benefits are a real value add to an employee and to a benefits program that you might be considering. It pays up to 75% of an employee's salary on a monthly basis while they remain unable to do their job. So, and whilst they're medically unfit to return to work. It does have a waiting period of anywhere between 4 weeks. Sometimes the average is about 13 weeks. So it's a really helpful policy to have in place, because as an employer, you don't want to be seen to be put into a situation where you've run out of sick leave, you've run out of annual leave, and you're not quite sure how to best tackle this. You've also got the cost of, no doubt, adding someone in to fill that seat that this member had been, doing their job, and so you, instead of actually double costing you, this actually alleviates both their financial concerns because they're getting a monthly benefit, but also as a business, it allows you to keep moving forward and actually find someone to replace that person for the interim. We all know that if someone is off for longer than 6 months, it is highly unlikely they'll return to work. So having this benefit and being able to act on it quite quickly means that we can actually do everything we can to try and get that employee back to work faster, whether that be early intervention, some rehabilitation, but it just takes off that pressure once the sick leave entitlements run out. Group trauma is another policy that you might be familiar with, or critical illness, as it sometimes is also known. It's usually a fixed lump sum, and it's payable. It's what we call a living assurance, because the person or the member suffers one of the defined critical illness events in the policy. There's usually about 30 of them, and they survive. The member survives for 14 days. So this is your things such as stroke and cancers and heart attacks and all the really big nasty things that can knock you for 6, but you survive. When the condition becomes known, it's actually, again, like with the TPD, someone has to take time off to help them recover through chemotherapy or rehab, or just rest and recuperation, which is sometimes the best medicine. Trauma insurance actually works really, really well with an income protection policy that I just mentioned, because with an income protection policy, you do have the waiting period, and sometimes that can be too long to really bridge the gap. And where a trauma policy fits in is it sits in nicely and gives a lump sum to help the family, and then they move on to the income protection for the extended long-term sickness benefit if they need to. Group medical insurance, we're probably all very, very familiar with this. It is a really valuable addition, and it's probably one of the most popular alongside life and income protection benefits that are offered from companies. It's typically high use. People will use this on a regular basis, whether it includes GP visits or it's just surgical and hospitalization for the big operations. Some companies, if they have staff sitting at their desk for quite long hours or looking at computer screens, they might offer the optical and or dental options. It just gives staff access to medical treatment when they need it. We have a good health system here in New Zealand, but as I mentioned earlier, it's stretching and it's groaning at the seams. And having to wait up to 2 years for a hip replacement or a knee op is not ideal. And as a result, you can have an employee who's off and on work, in and out of work during that time whilst they're trying to get themselves better. It just means that they can be in and out and they can be seen a lot faster. Preventing employee illness and injury in the workplace is a key concern for most organisations. Workers are actually taking fewer days off due to sickness and ill health, but the stress and anxiety levels, as I mentioned earlier, are actually rising in New Zealand by more than 20% over the last 2 years. So that's quite significant and something that we should really think about. Research conducted by the Business New Zealand and Southern Cross actually advised that workers were absent only for an average of 4.4 days in 2016. And whilst this was down from 4.7 days in 2014, it's still costing employers around $1.5 billion a year to have staff and members that are absent. So that's a huge cost to businesses, and actually it's something that's really worth considering. How can we actually address that side of it? We're trying to mitigate and minimize the potential liabilities. that illness and injury and absenteeism can actually do to your business. And so by thinking smarter and putting some policies in place that can be communicated and engaged with your staff really does help go a long way to helping your bottom line as well. Obviously, medical policies are pick and mix. They offer comprehensive cover. You can get pre-existing conditions included, and usually it's a really easy claims process for the member. So it is something that is high usage, and it's important to helping people on their day-to-day journey to being of good health. Employee assistance programs are a really cost-effective way and a confidential way of providing support and counselling services to your staff. Whether they're facing a workplace issue or a personal issue that spills out over to their workforce day-to-day activities, having an outlet to discuss with an expert in that field, to have the ability to speak to someone can sometimes just be all that's required and all that's needed. A lot of New Zealanders tend to keep things to themselves and we bottle things up. But having these assistance programs in place just takes some of that pressure off. It means it doesn't necessarily always have to spill over into the workplace and affect their work or take days off when they're not well. It just helps them to get another perspective and also just to talk to someone. And sometimes that's all you need to just shed some light on a situation and start to maybe turn a corner. So these policies are really, really practical. The usage, you don't get told who's used it, you don't get told why they've used it, but you get told that a number of people have exercised it. So it is quite a great service to know from an employee point of view that there's no big brother, Mr. Company watching over what I have going on in my life. JLT have recently launched a Gowell health portal. It gives 24 access, so employees can log in at home, they can log in on their phones, on their devices, or when they've got 5 minutes in the office. And we've joined up with the Healthy Food Guide, who put together an online presence and also a weekly magazine or monthly magazine that you might see in your supermarkets. This is a resource that offers you access to their website and also includes a whole lot of health deals. When I say health deals, I'm referring to discounted gym memberships, discounted eye exams, and the like, slightly cheaper dentist meetings and appointments. And what it also does is it provides you with tools, some advice, some recipes and articles around a whole range of different things, such as diabetes, getting more exercise, eating healthily, a whole lot of different things. And this portal is really good because it's an active, interactive, daily portal that people can go on and log on whenever they want. One of the areas that's quite neat is if you're not quite sure what to cook for dinner, but you have some chicken in the fridge, you can type in chicken and it will come up with different recipes that have chicken in it, and you can work through your ingredients list and get some creative ideas. It also stimulates positive health and employee wellbeing. It increases, it's been known to increase productivity and build a bit of resilience. It also helps your staff to take ownership of their own health and well-being and to be more aware of certain things that they can do to improve or enhance their lifestyle that they're currently living. It's got healthy recipes, but it also has engagement plans and analytics that you can look at behind the scenes. So it can actually show you where your employees are clicking, not per employee, but just on certain topics. So if, for example, a whole lot of staff are clicking and searching on stress-related assistance and help, it can highlight to the company that maybe we need to look at offering something in that space because we've had this month an awful lot of people who seem to be really, really stressed. So it helps you as an employer to see exactly where your employees are thinking and what times of the month may be more stressful than others. BenPal, as I mentioned earlier, is JLT's wholly owned global online employee benefits system. It's a bit of a mouthful. We created an online system that is beneficial to both employees and employers. From an employer's point of view, as you can maybe see from the diagram in the presentation, it can highlight a total reward statement to your staff. So your staff can see that it's not just their salary, but actually their package is made up of salary, some insurance, their KiwiSaver, for example, and actually shows them a total overall value package. Now that's really handy when you've got someone who's thinking they might want to be looking to move on, or you're trying to attract some really good people. It shows you as an employee actually what you're worth in your total package. I think people sometimes forget that when employers offer private medical insurance, how expensive it can be on an annual basis. And when you add that in over and above salaries, for example, it does actually start to build up a quite substantial package. What's also really good is you can actually provide information on there, not just about insurances, but all the other benefits that you might offer. And it means from an HR point of view, you don't have to shield all these calls about how much insurance has somebody got, or what's this benefit called, and what does this mean. You can actually refer them to the site, and it will actually give them information and access about a whole lot of different things for them to have a look at. Insurers use it as a way of providing and using access to the information. It's fully secure, and your HR and finance teams can always pull a report at any one time, which shows them all their employees and the benefits they have. So it's actually quite an efficient service, and it's definitely one that's really well, I guess, enjoyed by employers, insurers who look after the benefits, but also the employees, because it actually gives them something physical and tangible they can look at and see and understand quite easily. Wellness. It's all about early intervention. It's all about rehabilitation, and it's about a blend of the traditional versus the proactive management. We really need to sort of sit and think about how we structure our policies, because it's another cost to a business, but at the same time you're trying to find that right balancing act. Here we believe in early intervention. We have a network of over 1,000 healthcare professionals that we work with nationwide. Now, we have clients that don't necessarily have insurances here in place, but they use the services because they value their employees, and they know that if they get onto it quickly, they've got a better chance of assisting and helping that employee back to work. Rehabilitation is another one. It's not just about relying on the insurers and the individual to find who the best person is to help them with their recovery. It's actually about engaging with some of the best rehab consultants in the industry and around the certain scenarios. So there is a lot more about being proactive in our management rather than just solely relying on insurance policies at the end of the day. I guess one of the most important things that we've got coming up, and one of the things that we wanted to share with you today, is around a new PINZ initiative. PINZ, along with JLT, have partnered with AIA to provide a real easy life cover group option. What it is it gives you as individuals the ability to choose a level of cover up to 300,000. It's all online, and trust me when I say it will take no more than 5 to 10 minutes. It's got minimal underwriting questions. It actually asks you 5, I think, off the top of my head. And it's actually 8 to 10% cheaper than what you would find on the high street if you were to compare it. And you actually get that discount applied to the policy for life. So it's a life insurance initiative at this stage. It doesn't have to fall under a group arrangement. It may be that you are a Property Institute member, and you've sort of gone, well, it's come to the start of the new year. Over Christmas, I got sort of thinking about my family and protecting them, and You know, unfortunately, our road death tolls are quite high at the moment, and just using that as an example. And you want to just get a little bit of extra cover just to make sure the family are protected, or that your business is going to continue if you weren't there anymore. And so we're just in the process of finalising everything on this initiative, and it will go live in February. Oh, we are in February. It'll go live in the next couple of weeks. But it's quite a good way. It means that it's got flexibility for you to be able to manage it on your own steam. But while this is an individual basis, we actually do really strongly recommend that if you have a company or you have corporate benefits that you want to look at, that you might want JLT to review, or you just might want to have a chat with someone to see where the market in your industry sits in terms of what they offer, then we'd love to review it, or we'd love to give you some quotes to work out how best we could maybe tackle some certain areas in your business that may be needing a bit of assistance with. Be it absenteeism, be it you have someone who's off long-term sick and you've just been extending your sick leave for them and you're now sort of at your wit's end going, what do we do now and how can we help? There's loads of solutions out there, and that's what we're here for. So this new initiative will be launched very shortly, but if there is anything that we can do in the meantime around group benefits and employee benefits, then please do let us know. Anybody has any questions for me?